file that they're expecting, but at the same time, a backdoor will run at the background, giving us full access to their computer. The only limitation to this is you need to be the man in the middle. It doesn't matter how you manage to achieve this position, but you need to be able to intercept connections so you can backdoor the downloads on the fly. Now to do this, we're going to be using a tool called Backdoor Factory Proxy. I already installed this tool for you in the custom image that I made for this course. So all we have to do is go to our Kali machine right here and navigate to the location where I installed it. To navigate to a specific location, you can either just click in here and press the / from your keyboard to open the path bar, or you can press Ctrl and L from your keyboard again to open the path bar. Once this is open, we need to go to the path where this tool is installed, and it's installed in OPT BDF proxy. In here, you have the actual executable of the program, and you have the configuration file. So I'm going to double click the configuration file to change the config, and the main thing that you want to change in here is the proxy mode, which we have it right here. It will be set to regular by default, and you want to change that to transparent. The next thing that we want to modify is the IP of my current computer, because like I said, this tool will backdoor every file the target downloads. So we need to tell this tool my IP so that when the backdoor gets executed on the target computer, it knows where to connect to. So you can get your IP by running ifconfig, as I showed you before. I've already done this, and I know my IP is 10.0.2.15. So I'm going to look for where it says Windows in here. This is the configuration for the Linux targets. If you're targeting Linux, then you also want to modify the IP here. But I'm only going to be targeting Windows, so I'm going to look to where it says Windows, as you can see in here. And I'm going to change the host to my IP, which is 10.0.2.15. And I'm also going to scroll down to change it for Windows 64. And again, in here, you want to set it to 10.0.2.15. And we're good to go. So I'm going to Control S to save and Control Q to quit. And we are ready to use the tool. So keep in mind, the tool is installed in OPT BDF proxy. And the program that runs the tool is this file right here, bdfproxy.py. Therefore, we're going to go to our terminal. We're going to navigate to where the tool is installed. So we're going to do cd opt bdf proxy. I'm going to hit enter. And if I do a quick ls, you'll see we have the program file in here. And because you see this in green, it means it's an executable. So we can run it by doing // followed by the file name, which is bdfproxy.py. I'm going to hit enter, and this will run with no errors, so it's perfect. So this program right now is running on its own, and as soon as it receives a request for an exe, it's going to backdoor that executable. But the way it is right now, it's not going to receive any requests. Therefore, we need to redirect requests to it. To do that, we need to first become the man in the middle. And like I said, you can do this using ARP spoofing. You can do it by using a fake access point and targeting the clients that connect you. Or you can use this tool whenever you manage to become the man in the middle, regardless of how you manage to do this. I'm going to do it with ARP spoofing because it's the easiest. So we're going to use BetterCap, exactly the same way that we've been using it before. So we're giving it the interface, which is ETH0, and then I'm giving it my ARP spoofing caplet so that it puts me in the middle of the connections, allowing me to intercept data and modify it on the fly. So I'm going to hit enter. This will run with no issues, so it's perfect. So now I'm intercepting the data. Anytime this Windows machine right here, which is the target, tries to download something, it's going to be intercepted in here in BetterCap, but BDF proxy is still not able to see that there is a download because these are two separate programs. So what we want to do is we need to link all the data that this program sees to this program right here. And to do that, we're going to use a firewall that comes pre-installed in most Linux systems called IP tables. And using IP tables, we can specify rules that packets have to follow. So I'm going to clear my screen here, and I'm going to use IP tables to modify a table called NAT and append a pre-routing rule that will apply for TCP packets that's going to a destination port 80, and we want to redirect this to port 8080 where we have BDF proxy running and waiting to backdoor the downloads. So, very simple command. We're using a program called IP tables to modify a table called NAT. We're going to append a pre-routing rule that will apply for TCP packets that's going to destination port 80, and we're going to redirect them to port 8080 where we have this program BDF proxy running waiting to backdoor files for me. So I'm going to hit enter, and I misspelled port in here. There's an OR, and this runs with no errors, so that's perfect. So now we're using BetterCap to intercept data. All this data is going to be redirected using this rule to BDF proxy, which will wait and see if there is an exe being downloaded. It will backdoor it and then serve it back to the target. When the target executes the exe, we'll execute a backdoor that will send a connection back to me. So all I have to do right here is to listen for incoming connections. You can do this using the multi-handler, as I showed you before, or if you're lazy, you can actually use the resource file that the backdoor factory creates for us. So this file right here will automatically start the multi-handler and listen for incoming connections for all of the payloads that we saw in the configuration file of BDF proxy. To run this, all we have to do is first of all run MSF console as usual, and we're going to say I want to give you a resource file and then give it the full path for this resource file. Now keep in mind, this file was created by BDF proxy that is stored in OPT BDF proxy. Therefore, the location of this file is going to be in OPT BDF proxy followed by the file name. So if I hit enter now, MSF console will run and it will load all the code that is stored in the resource file, which will automatically start the multi-handler and configure it with the IPs that we specified when we configured BDF proxy. So now everything is running and we are ready to go. So let's go to the target computer and let's keep it simple when testing. So I'm going to try to download something from a HTTP website. So we're going to go to speedbit.com and we're just going to click on download. This will actually download the app which I showed you how to hijack its updates. We'll get a normal download. We're going to save it to our downloads. This will automatically go to downloads. So I have that already opening here. As you can see, it has an actual proper icon for the program. This is the normal icon that you'll get if you download Speedbit. And if you double click it and run it, it's just an executable. You will actually get the normal installer. So if this was an actual person, they won't really get suspicious because they're installing the program that they wanted. But what they don't know is this program got backdoored on the fly as it was being downloaded. So if we go back to our Kali machine, you'll see that Metasploit is saying that there is a new session opened. So all I have to do now is press enter on my keyboard. Then I'm going to do sessions L to list all of the available sessions. And as you can see, we have a new session in here. And to enter into this session, to interact with it, I'm going to do sessions I, followed by the ID of this session, which is number 1, and I'm inside my interpreter session right now, inside the target computer. So to verify this, I'm going to do sysinfo, and as you can see, I'm inside the MS Edge right now, and I can control this machine and do anything the normal user can do on their computer. And like I said, I will show you how to control this computer remotely in the post-exploitation section. But for now, we have full access to that computer, and we managed to do this by backdooring a file that the normal user requested to download as that file was being downloaded. What we've seen so far is some scary stuff. We can create a backdoor that is not detectable by any antivirus, and then we can deliver it in ways that the target person will not even need to interact, or they'll be fooled into running the file because they're already downloading a file and expecting an executable. So in today's video, we're going to have a look on how you can prevent that from happening to you. The first thing, make sure you're not being man in the middle. So this is huge, because if you're being man in the middle, chances are you're going to get hacked. Because we've seen in the network section how easy it is to hack someone if you're the man in the middle. So use a tool like XR, or use static ARP tables. Don't use networks that you don't know or don't trust. This way you can kind of increase your confidence into your network and into the fact that you're not being man in the middle. Another security precaution is always make sure you're using HTTPS. So even on download pages, on the download link itself, make sure it's a HTTPS link, it's not a HTTP. If it's HTTPS, then we won't be able to hijack it and backdoor it on the fly. The updates is the same. If the updates are coming from a HTTPS website, then we won't be able to hijack them and make fake updates. Another tool that could be very useful is a tool called WinMD5. Now, every file that is created has a signature, so you can generate a signature for any file. And usually when you download the program, the website that allows you to download that program will also give you a signature or a checksum of that file. So if the file gets modified, such as the way we did in backdoor proxy, so if it gets modified on the way, the MD5 checksum will change as well, because it's calculated from the file and it's a one-way function, so it can't actually be decrypted. So if anybody modifies the file as it's being downloaded or as it's being delivered to you, the MD5 checksum will change, and this way you'll know that someone tampered with this file, and this file is not the original file that you're supposed to receive. This works into many cases and into many scenarios, and it's a very important concept that you need to know. So using the tool is very simple. Now there's tools for Linux and for Windows to do that. You can literally just download the tool and run it. And once you download the tool, you can go on the browse. It doesn't need to be installed. And when you go on the browse, allow you to select the file. And once you do that, then it will give you the signature of that file. So I'm actually going to select the download file for the tool itself. And if we compare the signature with the signature that they're giving us here, you'll see that it's identical, which means the tool has not been modified as it was downloaded from their website. If you do the same with any file that you download, then you'll know that the file has not been modified and therefore it hasn't been backdoored. So if there's a file in the backdoor, then the backdoor existed on the website where you downloaded it from. So the website itself was serving you a backdoor. So far, we've seen really good methods in client-side attacks. these methods were really good because we didn't really need to ask the client to do anything. We would gain access to the target computer if the client update their system, or if they download something, then we'll backdoor it on the fly. So these methods are really good because we don't actually need to interact with, the person does need to do something, so the user has to actually do an action, but we don't need to ask them to do something. The only problem with these methods is that we need to be the man in the middle. So we either need to do ARP poisoning, or we need to start our own fake access point, or do something to become the man in the middle. In the next videos, we're going to talk about a method or methods that you can use if you aren't the man in the middle. If the person maybe exists in a remote place that it's not possible for you to become the man in the middle. So we're going to be talking about social engineering. And social engineering is really big, and there's so many attacks that you can do because it all depends. Sometimes you don't even need any technical information to do that kind of attacks. So it all depends on your target and how you're going to build a strategy to attack that target and maybe get some passwords or gain access to a certain computer system. What we're going to do is, usually with information gathering, the most important step is gathering information. You need to gather as much information as you can about your target, about what websites they use, who is their friends, anything, any piece of information can become really, really useful to you when it comes to social engineering. So we're going to look at how to gather information about a specific person first. So all we're going to have is just a name or a Facebook account, and we'll see what information we can gather based on that name. After that, we're going to move and we're going to start building a strategy, and we'll see how we can use all the information that we gathered to build a strategy in order to build an attack and gain access to the target computer system. And at the end, we're actually going to use some technical stuff to create our backdoor. We're going to make a backdoor that's acceptable by the target user that they'll probably use, and we'll also see how we can pretend to be one of their friends and get the target person to run the backdoor. So we're actually going to be asking them to run a specific file instead of the methods that we've seen so far, where the user voluntarily goes and updates their system or downloads a certain executable. Now in this lecture, I'd like to give you an overview of a tool that we're going to be using often in this course. This tool is great for information gathering, and it allows you to gather information just about anything. You can gather information about people, you can gather information about websites, computers, companies, phone numbers, everything, really everything you can think of, you can add it to this tool and try to extract information related to that entity. The tool is called Maltego, and it's going to become your best friend when it comes to information gathering. Now, like I said, the tool can be used to gather information about anything, but using the tool is the same. So it doesn't matter if your target is a website, if it's a person, if it's a phone number, if it's a company, it doesn't really matter. Using the tool is exactly the same, but only the information that you'll be getting is going to be different. So in this lecture, we're going to have a quick overview over this tool, and then we're going to be using it more in the next lectures. So first of all, to run the tool, just go to the More Applications right here, and then just type in Maltego. And you can see that the tool comes up in here, and it's called Maltego CE. The first time you run the tool, you'll be asked to log in with a username and a password. If you don't have one, you'll have to register through the wizard that you'll see. So just create a new username and new password, and then they'll send you an activation link to your email, activate your account, and then you'll be able to log in and use the tool. Now, as you can see, I've already logged in, and it's offering me to use one of the already made templates for gathering information. I'm not going to use any of that, so I'm just going to click on the cancel right here. In here, you can see that we have the home page for the tool. And from here, you can add more transformers to the tool. Basically, transformers are plugins that allow you to gather information about specific things. So you can literally just click on install on any of these, and it'll allow you to, it'll add basically more transformers or more things that you can do with Maltego. A lot of these extra transformers will ask you to log in with a username and a password or use a certain API. For now, we're just going to use the built-in transformers, and I'm just going to go on right here to create a new graph. And this is the main workplace of Maltego. So in the middle, we have our graph. So here is where you're going to be seeing your entities, where you're going to be seeing the information. And here you'll have an overview of the graph. And in here you'll have details about each entity in the graph. And in here at the bottom right, you'll be able to change the properties for each of these entities. All of this is empty now, and all of this is vague, I know, for you. But once we start using the tool, it'll start making sense straight away. On the left, we have our entities. They're organized in categories right here, depending on the type of these entities. So for example, if we click on the infrastructure, it'll allow you to add a domain name. You can add MX records, you can add URLs, or you can add a website. So you can literally just drag and drop the entity that you want. And now we have a website in the graph, and from here we can start gathering information about this website. There's a lot of different types of entities. So you can add a device from here. You can, for example, if we go to personal, you'll see that you can actually just add a person. So literally you can just add a person, give their first name, their second name, and then you'll be able to gather information about this person. You can also add a phone number, again, put the phone number and start gathering information about it. And one of the really cool categories right here is the social links, which will allow you to add Facebook entities. It will allow you to add GitHub, Foursquare, LinkedIn, Instagram, and other social networks. And with that, once you add them, you'll be able to gather information about these entities. And obviously, this information will really help you when it comes to trying to exploit that person and hack into their system. Now, once you add the entity in here, if we click on the website, for example, I'm just going to go on the property view, and you'll see that in here I can modify the properties for this website. So, for example, the first thing that we need to change is put the name of our target website in here. And once we do that, we can right-click and select what type of information we want to gather. Now, I'm not going to run any transformers in this video. We're going to do it in the next videos. For now, I'm just showing you a quick overview of the tool, how to add entities, how to run transformers, and what do we mean by all of these things. I know a lot of this is still a bit vague, but we're going to be using this tool a lot in the course, and it's going to become very easy for you. And as I said, you're going to be able to use it to gather information about anything, and it's really going to help you enhance your social engineering skills. Please note that right now you are using the free version of Maltego. The free version is great at gathering all sorts of information, but it doesn't allow you to use search engines and a few other features. That's why in the next lectures I'm going to be using the paid version. You can actually request a free trial from the link in the resources of this lecture. Just explain to them that you are a student and they'll happily give you trial access, which you can use to do everything that I'm going to show you in the next lectures. I know there are a lot of other free information gathering tools, but in my opinion, they do not even come close to Maltego. Maltego is the best at information gathering, and that's why I use it and I teach my students to use it. Think of it this way: if you're learning how to design, would you rather learn how to do it using Paint, which is free, or would you want to use the best design software such as Photoshop? in this video, I'd like to show you how to target a person. So we're going to start with literally just a name, just a person's name, and then we'll see how we can gather information about that person and then build up an attack strategy as well. And as we do that, I'm going to show you some more features of Maltego and how to configure a few more settings. So I'm going to start a new graph by clicking on the plus sign right here. I'm going to look for personal, and I'm going to look for a person. And right here we have a person entity. Now, as I said in this example, I'm going to assume that I have a target and I know their name. I know their first name and their second name. And again, that target is me, and my first name is Zaid, and my second name is Sabi. So I'm going to go here on the property list. I'm going to set the first name, just double click it. I'm going to set it to Zaid, and then I'm going to set the surname to Sabi. I'm just going to set this to capital. Doesn't really matter, but just looks better. Now, let's see what information can we gather about this entity. Again, as usual, all we have to do is just right-click it and see what we can get. So I'm already in the Patirva category, and I'm going to go to all transformers. And you can see we can get associated emails, we can transfer this, we're already a person, we can try to get a phone number, we can try to get a Twitter account. You can try all of these. For now, I'm going to try to get a website or websites for this person. Now, this is going to ask you if you want to look for a specific domain name. I'm going to assume that I know nothing, so I'm just going to put a space in here, in both entries. So that just means look up for any websites that are associated with this person. Now you can see that we managed to get a number of websites right here. And all of these websites are associated with Zaid Sabi. Now that doesn't really mean that these websites are actually associated with your target, because there could be another person named Zaid Sabi. So you'll have to go on each one of these and see which one is actually related to that person. For example, if we click on the Facebook here, I'm going to double click it to see what information is there. And I'm going to go on the properties. And you'll see that we have the Facebook URLs that are associated with that person, with that name. Now I'm going to copy all of these, and I'm just going to put them in a text file so we can read them better. And you can see we have 3 profiles. Now, in a real-life situation, you should be going into each of these profiles and see which one's actually related to your person. I'm not going to do that because the 3 of them are actually not related to me at all. So this is really not useful, and you'll just move in. In this case, you'll just come back, move into the next entity, and see what's useful. And I highly recommend you delete the ones that are not useful, because they'll just make it harder to look through things. So you can just click it, press delete, and that'll delete it for you. Now the LinkedIn profile right here, again, you can double click it and see which profile it links you to. But again, it's not my own profile, and you can see that once you actually go to the URL. So for now, I'm just going to delete that. And you can see the rest of the stuff in here is actually all related to me. So it's all related to your target. And you can try and double click each one of them, go to the properties, look for the URL, and open it in your browser. When you do that, you'll get the information that's related to that person, and hopefully it'll help you to form some sort of an attack strategy or help you get even more information. For now, because I've already looked on all of them, I'm going to focus on one of them, which is the Udemy link. So the information related to me on Udemy. I'm going to double click this like we did before, and I'm going to go on properties, and you can see that we have a URL or a description here. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to put it in my text file right here. And I'm just going to copy the URL and open it in my browser right here. So you can see that this URL is related to our target person, and you can see that it's leading us to a course that's taught by myself. Now, this is not really useful. You can see that the target person is teaching online courses, whatever. not very useful. But if we go back and look at the other URL, so this had two URLs. If I scroll back to the left, we can see we have the first URL right here. And this URL is my profile URL. So I'm going to copy it again and paste it in the browser. And you can see this is showing us the profile for the target person. You can see that it's the same name. You can see their picture, so you know this is your target. You can see a description about what they do, but you probably already know that. But you can see some useful stuff. For example, you can see that they used to work with a company called iSecurity. So again, you can go to what we did previously, research iSecurity, add their website as a target, and then gather all the information that we were able to do, and then use that to build up a strategy against Zaid. Now we're not going to do that because we've already done something like that. So we're going to try to see what other information we can get. What's really useful in here, we can see that the person is sharing a few links. So they're sharing their YouTube channel, they're sharing their LinkedIn profile, they're sharing their Facebook, and they're sharing their own blog. All of these, you can go ahead and browse all of these things to gather more information about that person. Now, you need to keep in mind that I'm setting my targets to myself, which is an aware person about computer and information technology. And even the target I targeted in my previous video, iSecurity, it's an information technology company. And even with that, we were able to gather so much information. So when you're targeting normal companies or normal people, it will be so much easier to get effective information. So right now, if you actually go look at the YouTube, look at the LinkedIn, and look at the Facebook, you really won't get much. Like even if you click on the Facebook, you'll see the Facebook won't lead you to anything. You need to log in, and even after logging in, you won't get too much useful information. What's useful in my case is if we go on the blog. And we're going to go to the About. And what's useful in this is we have the email address of the target person, and we have their Twitter account. So these information were not included on Udemy. And now we have two really useful pieces of information. So in the next video, we'll see how we can use this information to gather even more info about our target and hopefully be able to build up an attack strategy. Right, so now we have the email address of the target person and we have their Twitter account. So let's start with Twitter and see what we can get from that. So I'm going to open the Twitter account for the target person right here. I'm going to copy the link. And we're going to come here and we're going to add a Twitter entity. So I'm just going to move all of this to the side. And we're going to add a Twitter entity from the social network category. The problem here is you'll see that there is a tweet entity, but there is no Twitter entity. But Maltego actually has an entity for Twitter. It's just not being shown in here. And that's why I said I want to spend more time using Maltego with you to show you how to access these settings. So we're going to go to Entities. We're going to go to Manage Entities. And right here you can add all of these entities. So all of these entities are not added to the palette to the left in here. So if you see something in here that's interesting to you, you can just click on it. So the one I'm interested in right now is the Twitter affiliation, the membership of the Twitter social network. I'm going to click on the three little dots here. I'm going to go on Advanced Settings. And I'm going to check this box which says Palette Item. Now if I click on OK and close this, you'll see that I have a Twitter entity showing up in here. So again, I'm going to use this as normal. I'm just going to drag and drop it. I'm going to set the name of it here. So that's going to be myself, which is Zaid. And we're going to put the URL in here. So that's the URL of the profile. And I've already copied that, so it's this one. and my user ID is Zaid ALQ. So I'm gonna put that in here, and we're good to go. Now we can gather information about this person based on their Twitter account. So I'm gonna right click it and see what we can get. So we can get their tweets, we can see the tweets that they sent to people, we can transfer this to person, we can get more details, we can get the followers. What I really want to get in this is to get their friends, so that I can actually target them through their friends. So again, I'm just going to click on the play button here, and this particular transformer required you to log in to Twitter. So as you can see now, Maltigo is telling me that I have to log into Twitter to be able to gather information about this person. So I'm going to click yes, I'll log in, no problem. And then I'm going to click on this sign in right here. And I'm just going to log in with a username and a password. So I'm going to actually use a different account than the one that we're gathering information about. And now it's asking me, do I want to authorize this app? I'm going to say yes, authorize it, no problem. And that's it. Now we're logged in to Maltigo. I'm going to go back to Maltigo. And you can see that it's telling me I can sign out using this button. So now I'm logged into it. And if I close this, the search will start. So it's now starting to look for friends on Twitter of Zaid. And as you can see now, I managed to get the people that are friends with Zaid. And you can see some really interesting stuff. Now, these are all just websites, so they're not really very useful. We can go ahead and pretend to be a person from these websites, and there is a high chance of Zaid to respond to it, but it's not as good as using the people. So I'm actually going to delete these websites. Just going to click on delete. And we're just going to organize these. And now we can see that Zaid has 3 friends. And again, we can use all of these friends, right-click them, and try to gather more information about them. This is good so far. And in the next lecture, we'll go back to where we were. So we gathered information now about the Twitter account. We'll see how to gather information about the email of that person. Okay, now let's see what can we get using the email of the target person. Now, if we hover over this, or if we just copy the email address, it will copy the email of the person, which is zaid@isecurity.org. So we're going to go back to our Maltigo, and I'm going to put this to the side. And we're going to add a new entity, and this is going to be an email address. So we're going to go to personal, and we're going to look for email address, drag drop that, and set the email to the email of the target person from the properties. Again, I'm going to double click it and type zaid@isecurity.org. Now again, we actually get the email from here, from this icon right here, which leads us to the email of the person. So I didn't guess it myself or just get it out of nowhere. I actually managed to get it from only typing the name of the person. Now from this email, we're going to try and see what information we can get. I'm going to right click this as usual, and I'm going to transfer this to a domain name. Now again, you can transfer this to a person, you can transfer this to a phone number, to URLs, to websites, but I'm not going to do all of that because I've already actually done this on my own time, and the useful one is if we transfer it to a person. So there's a lot of trial and error.
Psalm 131. Lord, my heart is not haughty, nor my eyes lofty. Neither do I concern myself with great matters, nor with things too profound for me. Surely I have calmed and quieted my soul, like a weaned child with his mother. Like a weaned child is my soul within me. O Israel, hope in the Lord from this time forth and forever. Amen.